was last week, and obviously continuing to ride the momentum all the way here. But Mute, of course, somebody you can never sleep on. Now, the one caveat to this, although Mute is incredibly talented and a good dancer at that, go ahead, Mute, with your ass out. Ain't nobody mad at you.
That's right.
Ain't nobody mad at you at all. The caveat to this is, though, the last 3 encounters that Mute has had, I believe, with Onin, have actually resulted in defeat. So we know the Steve, the experience is there, but not necessarily the victories. And, of course, acola presents a whole different set of challenges. Not off to a bad start, though. Already we see that 79% pretty much unanswered at this point. A really good start, but can Rod, he maintain it? That's the question.
That is the million-dollar question indeed. And, we've seen kind of like a reoccurring trend here throughout the majority of day number 3, and that is, and I'm just going to call it for what it is, Phil. Feels like, the main objective is to camp. And I mean that with as much respect as possible.
Yes.
We got characters that literally can go from 0 to 100 really quick, man. And you got to, pilot by somebody like acola. I mean, sometimes the turn-up game is going to be a little bit more prevalent than what we see in similar matchups.
I completely understand what you're saying on that, man. But right now, it is definitely the MuteAce show. Love what he's been able to do. It seems like patience definitely going to be the key to this matchup. You see these openings, acola, not necessarily going to get you, not necessarily going to get the KO right there, but, man, he can certainly just kind of threaten you, put you in a bad spot, and just like that can accumulate some quick damage. Still like what I'm seeing, though, from Mute, but a couple of those mine cards, they can really start to add up. 89% is the percentage. A little bit of time to mine in between the offense of MuteAce.
That's right.
Let acola get closer to what he's trying to do.
Yeah, don't ever let him do that, man. You got to have that presence of mind, that situational awareness, if you will, to know exactly what akola's going for, or maybe the possibility of what he might go for. Just a few interactions ago. Of course, you get hit off stage, especially if you're right up underneath the stage. There's a couple things that, of course, a Steve player of this caliber can certainly do for you. But I think the biggest one that he went for was like that down tilt. Oh, my goodness. But there's the down air right there, man. On stage, getting it done in a big way. 121%, certainly nothing to sneeze at all. As we know, as much as, Peach is well equipped to put on percent, she can definitely take stocks like no other.
Absolutely right. That's one of the things I really do appreciate about this character, though, Steve, and the Anvil getting the first KO, and just really, again, situations where you have these characters just kind of burst out the gate, exploding, putting on a ton of damage, but it doesn't necessarily result any stock right there, though. The forward air going to go ahead and get MuteAce right back in this thing. Peach, of course, well equipped since day one to really deliver a lot of those combos, connections, and you're seeing them put on display right now. Mute is cooking.
He's cooking, man, with the right grease, but I can't ignore the fact that we've seen the situation kind of rinse and repeat already once before. MuteAce with the strong opening, and then, of course, acola is able to slow the match down to a crawl and figure out a way to chisel, or I guess in this case, mine their way back into victory. But we'll see how it goes. As we know, the Minecraft cast, not the heaviest characters in the business, and, of course, Peach is going to take full advantage of that. You can run, but you can't hide from the crown. There's the back air. Couple more right there, just stopping them from jumping around him. As you know, you don't want a character pressing buttons on your shield like Minecraft Steve.
You are absolutely correct. Oh, good catch on that backer. That was tremendous. Not going to get stopped. But the positioning, Rod, is everything Mute is looking for, and then some. And I'll tell you what, that tag reclaimer, because he just reclaimed the lead right now, putting the pressure on acola and making this game one that much more doable.
That's right. acola with the quick crafting table right there. So I got to get a tool in hand and fast. Got to figure out a way to bring myself out of harm's way. That's right. Kind of separating himself right there from MuteAce. I completely understand. The big issue with that, the double-edged sword, the catch-22, whatever you want to call it, is that the more time you spend away from a player like MuteAce, this caliber, the more time you give them to think. You put that turnip in hand right there, and it can get really dangerous for the other side. And as you can see right now, very well equipped. But let's see how well they open up, because acola has a bit of a hill right here to mount.
No doubt about that. You're kind of just taking the time, obviously getting all the resources on deck that, of course, you're going to need to make a comeback like this. And Steve, I'll tell you what, yesterday Charles was flabbergasted. He saw, I think it was Quandale, killed somebody on the other side of the stage with a diamond force smash of 40.
Yes, sir.
And just deleted them. So, we know Steve is full of the shenanigans, right? The opportunities do present themselves, but MuteAce has done a good job floating kind of between that offense and defense. Got to be careful of that Anvil. Not going to fall prey to that, and I love what Mute is doing again. Just well-timed aggression, kind of leaving acola with some questions he currently cannot answer.
I mean, that's kind of the name of the game right here. Kind of counting your punches. It's not about, who swings first or who swings the hardest. It's about who swings correctly. And I think MuteAce is certainly well aware of that. Knowing, okay, boom, I got the lead in the first stock, and unfortunately, I kind of slipped up a little bit. They were able to kind of open me up right here, but I think I'm going to slow this match down all the way. Just kind of floating around nice. Throws it back on him, gets him off stage. Now, I like this corner control right here, as you have seen in stocks past.
Beautiful.
You get caught in the corner versus MuteAce. It is a bad time for you. MuteAce looking good right here for game one.
One thing about MuteAce, too, I mentioned that earlier, that crazy comeback from the other day, but Mute's DI always seems to be on point as well. That's one thing to always keep in mind, and then just the wherewithal to just kind of keep his mind focused well within the game. And I did mention the fact, like, yeah, you know, the last 3 encounters with somebody like Onan, MuteAce has yet to defeat. But acola's, I mean, that's a different set of challenges, but a different player as well. And Mute somebody that just, every time I see him play, just continues to grow and adapt and get better and better.
Yes,
and that was a perfect example of that. Opening this first game, this best of 5 with a 2 stock. Love to see it.
Yeah, it kind of has that sand blood in him, if you will. I mean, you know, there are tournaments where you see MuteAce might falter a little bit, might stumble, but then it always feels like they come back twice as hard the next tournament. And honestly, given everything that we have seen just these last many weeks, I know you guys were just in France together, had a great showing there, kind of coming into Let's Make Moves Miami with a lot of momentum. But I can't take anything away from acola as well. You know, did very well in dubs. Of course, dubs, slightly different format, but there are shades of singles in there at points and times, and it really felt like since day number 1, which was doubles and squad strike, acola was just kind of slated to find himself at this portion of bracket. But we'll see, because, you know, Phil, you brought up a really good point about, you know, MuteAce kind of slowing the match down. I feel like on the opposite side of that, acola kind of not used to that. You know, when you slow the match down on him, he's like, wait a minute, that's usually what I do. Now I have to get in and get my hands a little bit more dirty.
Sure.
And Peach is like, you sure you want to go swing for swing with me? Because this forwarder don't take no prisoners.
No lies being told right now as we see we're awaiting the next stage. We'll see exactly where we're going to go. No character swaps needed between these two. They are masters of their respective characters, no doubt about that. But Mute, you know, as we said, you know, taking that first game pretty handedly. See if we can run that back, or if acola will have something to say about that. Going to remove any chance of platforms being an option here, because we are going to beautiful FD. One of my favorite stages, just for the aesthetics alone, Rod. But I'll tell you what, the aesthetics change when you got Steve on the stage, because he literally creates terrain as he does battle.
That's right, and you can see right now kind of leaning into that narrative as we kick this match off. Now, of course, keeping it dead, even for the most part. Obviously, both of these two very evenly skilled, but the name of the game is who's going to try to open up and take that lead first. As we have seen in some of these stocks prior, it's been MuteAce for the most part, you know, kind of holding on to that lead, and acola having to kind of play from behind here. And again, I think it's just because sometimes you just slow things down a little bit too much out of your favor. And, you know, just as much as she puts on percent, she can certainly switch the narrative up and slow a match down. But right now, things are looking pretty good up close. Big swing right there from acola, going to kind of break away, not wanting a player like MuteAce to try to float around him and press some good buttons.
Yeah, one thing I'm really looking to see here is just some adaptation. I'm curious about acola's matchup experience just in this, you know, in this particular matchup when it comes to Peach, because like it's easy to kind of direct the fact like, oh, well, Japan has Umeki. That doesn't necessarily mean that they played, right? Like I can't necessarily hang my hat on the fact that that necessarily happened. So, you know, very top level, I feel like talented Peaches sometimes can be few and far between, and, you know, MuteAce top of the crop, no doubt about that.
Yeah, and I think also to that point as well, just because you play Umeki doesn't necessarily mean you've played Mute. You've played,
or if you played in general. Japan is quite large, actually.
Yeah, it's a huge-ass area, so, like, you know, we got to definitely get rid of that narrative that just because they're from the same area, you know, they might have ran it. But
I agree.
As it stands right here, I mean, of course, there's enough information right here on both these two players on YouTube to get the knowledge on deck, and as you can see, MuteAce definitely showcasing some great knowledge, getting up close and personal, looking for that forward air. Okay, going to slide back in, if you will. The quick forward air right there to break up the fun, but we have seen MuteAce put acola in the corner. I'm wondering what happens when acola gets MuteAce in the corner.
Able to escape that situation right there. Very high percent. Both these stocks incredibly bloody, but the KO still not coming on either side of things just yet. Mute threatening one of these strong aerials from Peach. Going to find the back air and the stock as well. The threat is delivered upon. And this is a really strong start for Mute. Like to see it again, just playing with so much confidence.
Yeah, so much confidence and really so much resilience as well. I mean, coming in after that last game, but right here is going to take a little bit more than that, of course, to mount this comeback. This is the best Steve in the business. And of course, acola certainly showing up to prove that statement true. Has to figure out a way to get this stock off of MuteAce. This is a tough one, man. Again, turn up in hand. I've slowed the match down, and it just feels like every time you disengage, you just allow MuteAce more time to get in that kitchen and really start cooking.
A lot of people forget MuteAce. I mean, an absolute threat in any bracket that he competes in. That is 100% just fact, man. And that wasn't too long ago where MuteAce handed Spargo a surprising defeat as well. I don't think, you know, these young guns come in against MuteAce. MuteAce got that veteran prowess, man, that experience. You can get the job done. Don't be sleeping. acola finding that out firsthand right now, but of course, as one of the best players, really just kind of touch the sticks in Ultimate. It's hard to ever sleep against this kid. Just really needing to find some momentum to kind of swing it back his way. He's done a great job playing, incredibly disciplined, not just falling into any just errant smash attacks, shenanigans, any easy minecart setups. No, Mute making this incredibly difficult.
Yeah, and I really love that too. Again, adaptation is certainly key in a matchup like this because, I mean, let's be honest, no stock is ever the same interaction twice, especially with a character like the Minecraft cast. And of course, MuteAce just knowing how to rise to the occasion. This time kind of giving you less is more. I'm just going to let the turn up do the talking for me, just like us last night, Phil. And it's looking really good right here.
Don't talk about that. But yeah, man, you already know it's not quite that wild, but it's still getting crazy up on FD. Let me tell you something. Mute controlling the pace, dictating everything right now, and acola truly just looking a little lost at the moment.
Yeah.
Smart stuff. And I tell you what, that float is just so good to help neutralize some of those edge guarding tools that Acola's going to try and put out some of that pressure.
It's kind of forcing Acola into like a split-second decision-making moment where you're kind of caught in a fork in the road. Peach is floating. Is she going to cancel it? Can I walk up and get my hands dirty and go for grab? Or do I just have to keep fishing for up tilt, which isn't a bad move at all. But, the fact of the matter is that in order for up tilt to hit, you got to be up underneath Peach, which is the spot even a talented player like Acola just does not want to be. And as you can see right here, even being caught in the corner, I mean, this is just not a good spot to be in at all.
This is definitely, it's a tough one brewing for sure. You see Acola really just kind of content to just, okay, well, again, let me just kind of do the resource management here.
Yes, sir.
Understanding, okay, I get this stock off. I'm still very much so in this, but the way Mute is played, look at that, just last-minute avoidance of everything.
Okay, and this, again, another aggressive option back off the ledge. I love that forward air. Even if it doesn't hit, it just demands respect. You're not going to be able to pressure me for free. Of course, Acola, very well aware of that here. Looking for some sort of setup. That's right, man. If you reach, I will teach. Love that. Catching the overextension with F smash. Now, we have seen this stuff, happen time and time again. Is this where things start to kind of crumble apart, or can MuteAce kind of hold on to this lead?
It could definitely get scary, but the fact that MuteAce, having Acola there in those triple digits with a lot of presence, stage control, I have a good feeling Mute could very well so close this one out, and that's huge. I mean, you go up 2-0 against somebody like Acola, you're pretty much writing your own check at that point. But again, it is Acola, but never count this kid out.
Okay. 121%. We have seen it gets kind of spooky on the opposite side of that wall. They can F smash through it just due to the nature of how they step into it. So certainly watch yourself in the corner. Okay, Tools almost on the lock right here for Acola. Oh, wait a minute.
That just waiting, anticipating the minecart, just waiting. Mute is just waiting, looking for the perfect punish. And I'll tell you what, Acola, it might end up just being given to Mute just for the fact that Acola has no choice. You have to approach. You have to try and be offensively minded. Takes a big time forward air there, but still going to be able to survive ever so slightly. Got as high as you can get on those blocks.
Okay, and I love that bit of a mix-up. Going for the F smash and waiting it out. Yes, good pressure up close. Not going to be a lot that Steve's going to be able to do about that, especially when MuteAce is piling a Peach.
And you saw what happened there, too. The pressure on the shield to whittle it down a little bit. See MuteAce taking a sip, a little shaky, and for good reason. I mean, understanding, hey, I'm one game away from taking out, I think Acola is the #1 seed at this event, if I'm not mistaken, right? Okay.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised.
You're right there.
Yeah, I mean, you're literally right there. And honestly, MuteAce, I feel like is a player that sometimes people kind of sleep on it and forget about, kind of like we talked about in the beginning of this match. But rest assured, friends, if you don't know about Mute, you better ask somebody after how this one wraps up, because no matter how it unfolds, MuteAce is, of course, proven their spot in history. Acola, of course, though, again, it's a bit of that old guard, new guard starting to come out and show itself here. Yes, you're very skilled, you're very talented, but let's be honest, man, I got that experience, and of course you can't really put a price on that, no matter how much you paid for Steve. So let's go ahead and get it. Game number 3 right here. Acola, of course, has quite the hill to climb. And I ain't trying to count this young man out just yet. We have seen him do some dangerous things in this short time in the community.
Absolutely. Really just loving what we're – it's basically the ascension of Mute. And I'll tell you what, Rod, there's no better feeling than doing it kind of on your home turf right here in Florida. We know MuteAce in the past has certainly made quite the name for themselves. Acola, a little bit of foreign soil right now and in a lot of trouble, finding themselves down 2 games and down some percentage, but not a considerable amount considering Steve just like, one confirmed, and you'll see 53 just attached to it.
And that's exactly what I was talking about in that last game, Rambo. I'm really glad you brought that up. Just the ability to jump around Steve, of course, is going to kind of aid you in a matchup like this, but there is that 1 or 2 instance where, I might find myself slipping up, and boom, I get caught with up tilt and things like this happen. And I think you will have to adjust your strings just a little bit because of the floating nature of Peach. But rest assured, Acola got combos for everybody here, as of course you can see just with how this match is starting to wrap up. This could go one of 2 ways. Of course, we can see it kind of play out like how the first 2 stocks did, where MuteAce was able to open up and hold on to a lead, or we can see a big play come out, and MuteAce is going to have to dig deep and maybe play the slow game as well. There's another back here, of course, trying to keep Acola off his feet, but it's tough.
Oh, man, okay. That was definitely scary, but able to fade it just barely. Credits to Acola keeping this one close. Would be huge if Acola could just get this first stock off and then not have to kind of go into Mute, right? That's kind of been the turning point for some of this, I feel like, is the fact that Acola's had to do a lot of the approaching especially with facing a deficit, but right there, a trade going to benefit. And now, the problem with that, though, Rod, that lead, very, very slender, right? Very, very fragile at 165. And you see Mute just immediately removing that stock.
Yeah, that's right, man. Easy come, easy go is usually how it goes when it comes to a character like MuteAce. And when it comes to a player like MuteAce. And again, you know, I'll say it once and I'll say it again. You know, the Minecraft characters are tough, but when it comes to throwing their weight around, they need a very specific sort of stuff. You never really see them swing big haphazardly. Peach, on the other hand, you know, she can kind of float around, go for nair, go for backer, or most notably in a matchup like this, a lot of forward air to really bust up the blocks and really just to bust up the stocks. Let's call it for what it is. Okay.
Right now, I'm calling the fact that it looks like Mute is firmly in control. Look at the anticipation, just knowing, having the aerial mobility to just be able to punish those minecart options. Just, I know where you're going. I've got you on the run, and I'm chasing you down. Steve looking like Florida man because it is not going too well right now, Rod.
He needs some milk indeed, my friend. Right here, acola 141% here, and unfortunately climbing. Not exactly sure what he's going to take to stop the bleeding, but I tell you, ain't going to be none of whatever the hell that just was. A great nair out of shield is going to get the job done right there for MuteAce, but we'll see how long this lead will last, because you give a player like acola platforms, and he's going to get spooky for the other side. This ain't FD, homie.
No, man, you're talking about spooky. Halloween might have came early. MuteAce going quite literally demon mode right now on this Steve. Maybe you should have bought an Enderman, because I'll tell you what, Steve ain't getting the job done right now. Loving what I'm seeing from MuteAce. And again, having the lead right now, but just going to farm a few turnips. Going to be able to DI that. Yes, that anvil, big time hit, but not going to be enough to KO. MuteAce understand I'm still in a great position. And this not going to give it up for free.
And this, you know, this kind of the marking of a top professional player right here. I mean, when I have the lead, it's not a matter of like me getting it. There's going to be a chance I'm going to get it.
Sure.
But I have to hold on to it. And I think with a character again like Steve, it's going to be really tough to make that happen at times. Because there's a time like you see here where I disengage. I'm not really like, it feels like I'm not in the match. I am, but I'm kind of not at the same time. I'm giving you time to think. I got a lot of time to think on my behalf. How do I get in and how do I break that zone?
Sure.
I'm overstanding with forward air right now, trying to make a big play. Keep in mind, I can F smash through these blocks. Of course, acola not going for any of that right now, trying to stop the jump zone, and I love that. No Pokeball area for you, my friend. Try to go for the forward air. Doesn't get anything off of it.
Oh, okay, almost. Mute, though, fading that, keeping the stock intact, and look at that, Rod. Triple digits again for acola, trailing an entire stock and in jeopardy of getting a taste of the loser's bracket. Not something we too often get to say about acola.
Yeah, especially this early in bracket, man. I'm just going to call it for what it is. I mean, we're usually used to seeing him more on that top 8 side of things, and maybe he might be able to make that play here. I don't want to call it just yet, but 100% certainly ain't nothing to sneeze at. Okay, he's mining and he's crafting right here, man. MuteAce is going to have to try to craft a victory here and quick because, I mean, he is coming for sure.
That's what it is, man. The lead right now for MuteAce is looking extremely – oh, that was a great grab. Understanding, yes, akola's going to need to rely on that shield a little bit. I mean, 147, big hits from Peach, 159. I would not want to take another nair, especially this close to the ledge. Patrolling, looking, scheming, plotting. Trying to close this one out as MuteAce right on the doorstep. This should be an up throw. Okay, it is. Yep.
That's right. Of course,
put him in disguise.
Yeah, sorry. That's right. The corner, prime time spots right there for MuteAce. Of course, acola very well aware of that. There's a downer. Kind of wondering where that was. Probably due to the nature of the recovery, but you ain't recovering from that back air. Closes that one out. MuteAce with a swift 3-0 and a handshake.
The ascension of MuteAce right before our very eyes here in beautiful Miami, Florida. Hands acola not only in first loss of this tournament, but in grand fashion, a 3-0. And let me tell you, Rod.
I'm listening.
At some points, it didn't even look close. I'm just gonna. At some point, it didn't. And I'm a big acola fan too.
Yeah.
That kid has got a lot of potential, a lot of talent. Arguably the second best player on the planet.
Yes, sir.
But MuteAce on this day was just better.
MuteAce just going through
Just
a lot
better.
of power.
It was almost a matchup check too.
Yeah,
It was so I've got plenty of experience against Steves, right? I fought the Jakes, I fought the Yannis, I fought the Onins, and you know a lot of times it's resulted in defeat. But I've taken that and I've let it kind of brew. I've let it come into its own concoction.
Yeah.
And I took a sip of that serum, okay? And I found the cure for Steve. It was Peach. It was an ass whooping, and it is what it is. MuteAce, congratulations.
That's right, man.
Now, it was a lot closer than that. I just thought something.
Yeah, but, you know, a 3-0 is a 3-0. You know what I'm saying?
3-0 is a 3-0.
To
It
the
was a good
TOs,
match,
they're just like,
though.
it don't matter if
Great
it's close. A
set.
3-0 is certainly a 3-0. And there are certainly points in times to that match where I'm just going to be real. MuteAce just felt like the better player.
Yeah.
I mean, 110,000%. acola, of course, I think played the Peach matchup properly.
I agree.
But back to the narrative that we talked about before this. You got Umeki